Well, good morning, everyone, and welcome again to another live this morning here. Another beautiful day in Northern Ontario, and it's been a great week. Got to get outside every chance I get. So just making sure that you can hear me. I'll wait a minute before we get into our study this morning. Nativity, good morning, and Catherine from Ingersoll, nice to have you on, and Brandy's on, Margie and Jeanette and John, good morning. Bacon and eggs and vitamin C. Me too. Donna, good morning, and Rosa. Jerry, good morning from New Brunswick. Lucy, bonjour. And Keith, good morning from the Windsor area. And Sheila, nice to have you on. Charlotte, good morning to you. It's great to have you guys on. Sorry, how are you this morning? And Andrea from New Brunswick. And you guys are great. I appreciate you guys coming on. Nick's on with us. Donna's on with us this morning. And you guys are, it's much appreciated. Much appreciated. Micheline, bonjour, salut. Salut. And Dennis, good morning. And Angelina, or is it Angela? I just missed it. Marie, Angelina. Marie, how are you? Okay, I'll say hello to a few more. And Natalie. And you guys are great. Daniela, another one from Windsor. Joanne, nice to have you on with us. Matilda and Lorraine, bon matin. Yeah, to you too. And Germaine from New Liskeard, and Marina from Newfoundland. Suzanne and Harleen, you guys are great. Thanks so much, Catherine. From BC, man, oh man, you're up early in the morning, 5:30 in the morning there, isn't it? And Etna and Marie-José, bonjour, Jenny, and Teresa Janelle. Okay, I gotta go. One more. Marie, how are you? Okay, a study came out, I read this 2 days ago, I think. And it's sort of news behind the news, but this study came out. It was the Australian Health Minister orders a review after a study in Australia linked youth suicide with antidepressant use. So in Australia, they're going to start an inquiry. Now, if you have watched me or listened to me in the past, I've often talked about the history of antidepressants. Antidepressants came out in the 1970s, and they were meant to be used to get you through a very dark period and not for a long period of time. And I've said that many times, and I appreciate that oftentimes I'm going to repeat myself, but in the health business, you know, you're going to repeat yourself because studies are going to come out, and you know, I always try and find studies that are interesting to you and relevant to you. And you know, depression has gone up. Look, there's been depression since the beginning of mankind, right? You read some of the Psalms in the Bible, and from David, and the King David suffered from some depression. So depression is not new, okay? It's not new, but it's much more common today. And, you know, I've done this in the past where I've gone, everything depression. Where does depression come from? Oftentimes most often it comes from anxiety, and we talked about that. And anxiety, if left unchecked, can lead to depression. And some people are more prone to depression, and we've talked about that too, because we've talked about the gut-brain connection, okay? So what happens in the gut, even in the placenta, even as babies, And one of the things that I blame for depression, or the more instances of depression, is the overuse of antibiotics. So what's the connection? The connection is your gut microbiome gets changed. The problem with antibiotics, they can save your life, so I'm not against them, but what I'm against is the overuse. And there shouldn't be a doctor in the world. There shouldn't, in this day and age, in 2020, there should not be a doctor that doesn't give probiotics with antibiotics. You should never, ever leave the hospital. You should never leave a doctor's office. You should never leave a pharmacy where you picked up an antibiotic and they didn't give you a probiotic at the same time. I mean, if there's anything that is well known across the spectrum of medicine, is and a lot of doctors do recommend antibiotics, but not enough. They never look at the long-term effects. If they kill that friendly bacteria, you change the microbiome within the gut. It has enormous ramifications, enormous. And I've said this to you and I'll say it again. Autism, in my opinion, is 100% leaky gut. I believe that autism is a new disease, it's a new disorder, and I know they're looking at genetics, they're looking at, these kind of things, but what they're not looking at is the gut. The gut's microbiome. And when Hippocrates, 2,000 years ago, talked about all diseases start in the gut, the father of medicine, man, 2,000 years ago, he didn't know about microbiome. Well, if he did, he didn't write about it. But he knew the gut. And I just want to emphasize something that you will understand when I say it. When you get the butterflies, right? You're nervous. You got a nervous stomach. You have to speak maybe at an event or whatever, and you're nervous, or something's happening in the family, and your stomach is just like you're uptight, and you feel it with the butterflies in the stomach, and you just it's guys, what is that? Though you have more hormones. You have more hormones in your gut than you have in your brain. You make more serotonin, you make more dopamine, you make more GABA, your feel-good hormones. You make that in your gut. So when your gut isn't well, this is why I always talk about the importance of that microbiome, that forest, that invisible war that goes on in your gut. So, in Australia, they're going to have an inquiry. I am so thankful for it. And they're going to look at the connection of taking antidepressants and the connection to suicide. Now, let me say a few things. One, in our hometown, I live in Sudbury, Ontario. Last year, I think this is 2018. Was it 2018 or 2019? 2019, I think. In 2019, in Sudbury, okay? 40, I think it was 38, to be exact. 38 people committed suicide. that we know about. It's incredible. 38 people didn't die of COVID in Sudbury. Okay? No. But yet, we don't talk about that. But what Australia wants to know, and what the health minister of Australia wants to know, is there is a connection between suicide and antidepressants. Now, a couple of years ago, I said something, and I got attacked. You know when you get a mass shooting in the United States, and I say in the United States, we had a very bad mass shooting here, even during COVID. When was it? At the end of March, or no? It probably was April. Was it Nova Scotia? The guy killed 22 people, I think. It was terrible. But I made a point. This is 3 or 4 years ago. I made a point that when they analyzed these mass shooters, okay, when they analyze them, like, what was their family like? What was, they go over everything. It was interesting to me that in I think it was the last 10 mass shootings in the United States, okay? I just looked at those ones. All 10 of them were on antidepressants. All 10 of them. Now, that's a common denominator. Nobody talks about that. And guys, I'm not trying to make excuses for anybody that does anything as evil as that. So please don't misunderstand what I'm saying. I'm looking for a connection, and so is now Australia, a connection between antidepressant use and suicide. Now, obviously, not everybody that takes an antidepressant is going to commit suicide. I'm sure it prevents people from, not everybody, obviously, but they probably do some prevention of suicides. The problem is, guys, that antidepressants, by nature, were meant to be used for a short period of time. And if you don't fix the gut, you'll never fix depression. And I believe it's one of the common denominators in depression is and to some extent anxiety, but depression is in the gut microbiome. 100% convinced of that. Leaky gut, leaky brain. Leaky gut, leaky skin. Leaky gut, leaky lungs. Leaky gut, leaky sinuses. The gut, if I get a chance today, I'll bring it out, a new study on the thyroid and leaky gut. The connection. So in the gut, you see why I'm always talking about probiotics. And don't feed the bears. Dysbiosis. You know what dysbiosis is? It's an overgrowth of candida. Dysbiosis is when you have less good bacteria than bad. You change the permeability of your inner lining of the gut, which is just a single cell. And in behind that wall is your blood. In behind the wall of your gut is your bloodstream. And garbage should never go into your bloodstream. You have a barrier there, your gut-blood barrier. If you have a good microbiome, no garbage gets into your blood. But what if it gets in? What if yeast, especially, I'm a big guy on yeast, more than bacteria, more than toxins, even though I'm of course I'm interested in those things, but I'm more interested in yeast or a fungus. because it's very insidious. It gets in and it travels. That yeast will travel to your brain. This is one of the biggest connections they've seen between the gut and Parkinson's disease, is the transfer of yeast or fungus into the brain. And how does it travel there? Through the bloodstream and via the 10th cranial nerve, the vagus nerve. And so, guys, this is why I look for studies like this. And then this wasn't it came after a study. In Australia, the health minister orders a review. A review. You know what? Can I just say one thing on the side? I can say it because it's my program. I hope they do a review of COVID. Okay? Maybe we'll do everything COVID tomorrow. Put it to bed. Okay? Although, but wouldn't it, I think we deserve a review. Okay? What we did right, what we did wrong, did we overreact? Did we underreact? What did we do? I think that would be such a good idea to have an inquiry. Because I give you an example, and I'm just going to get off topic just for a second to talk about COVID. But here in Sudbury, we have no COVID. None. There was never a curve. It was a pancake. And we never had a second wave. We didn't have anything. Like, there was so little. But you can't talk to anybody. You can't get an explanation. You can't. All the power is in with the health unit here in Sudbury. And, it bothers me because I would like to have an inquiry into this. Why do we do what we're doing, and why is it, here we are, we're into almost our fourth month of this thing. But you know what? I like the idea that in Australia, they're going to do an inquiry. They want to know if there's any link between these suicides and antidepressants. I think that's a good review to have. Let's just put it out on the table. Why hide it? If it's true, then at least put a warning on the label of these medications. And pharmacists, sometimes I'm too hard on doctors and not hard enough on pharmacists. I know you can't get a prescription without a doctor. But you know what? Pharmacists know their medications. They know the side effects of them. And it bothers me. It bothers me that these professionals, there's very few of them that take their patient and say, you know what? I'm just going to tell you that there's a lot of side effects to these things. And I want you to be aware of them. And you know what? I don't know why pharmacists don't call the doctor more often and say, you know what? Like, you've had this patient, for example, on cholesterol medication for years, and they're getting, their brain is starting to their memory is going, or they became a diabetic, which is 50% more likely, ladies, if you take cholesterol medication. You got 50% chance of becoming a diabetic. You weren't a diabetic before. But nobody talks about that. Your pharmacist knows that. When they take pharmacology, they study all of the side effects of medications, and even including antidepressants, but you never hear them. If someone's on an antidepressant for 20 years, okay, maybe your doctor, I don't know. But I hold pharmacists responsible. They're a professional. I'm not saying they can stop it without the doctor, but they can certainly call a doctor and say, man, this patient has been on here for 20 years on this med. Don't you think it's time that you assess this again and try and get them off? It's like sleeping pills, I've told you. The problem with sleeping pills is you don't sleep, you sedate. And so, they were meant to be short-term, not long-term. And I got people that been on sleeping pills for 20 years, they're hooked. They can't go to bed without them. And I know, but I said, you're not even sleeping. Your glial cells, the night shift, that come in and clean up your brain, they don't work when you take a sleeping pill. They're on strike. Okay? So, you know what, guys? I'm just telling you, there's stuff that bugs me. It really bugs me. You know, and if you need an antidepressant, I'm not telling you not to take it. I'm just saying, why don't we get at the root of the problem? And one way to look at it is to look at your gut. Now let me talk to you about a second thing, and depression. While we are on the subject, 2 studies came out in the last week on the effectiveness of one, fish oil and depression. I have fish every morning. Did you know that? I have bacon and eggs and fish. Yeah, in a capsule. I have fish. I have high DHA oil every day, 7 days a week. See this brain? I need it. You guys are going, what brain? No, but seriously, I want, like fish oil does a lot of things. It's a tremendous anti-inflammatory. And you guys know me. I'm a big guy on a very specific part of the fish oil. So when you read your label, find out how much high DHA there is. DHA, it's the long chain fatty acid. The long chain. Okay, EPA's long too, but it's not as long. And EPA and DHA, that's what you get in fish oil. And you can have, there's other good oils. There's hemp seed oil, and there's, I don't like the oil of hemp seed as much as I like hemp seeds. So seeds have an oil in them, but they don't have the long chain. And the longer the chain, the more you absorb it. What they're showing in this study is that people that take DHA specifically, but fish oil capsules, do much better in terms of treating depression than those that didn't. So isn't that important? Well, you know, what's the connection there? Well, when you have leaky gut, you have inflammation. Remember what we talked about? If you look at the 3 seeds of disease, all disease, okay, the 3 seeds, insulin, leaky gut, and oxidative damage, okay? That's the key at the Martin Clinic. We look at the origin of disease, okay? And in our opinion, there's 3. Inflammation's not Houdini. It doesn't come out of nowhere. It comes because either you're a bad eater and you got high insulin. If you're a crappy carb eater, you got high insulin. Just accept it. If you've taken antibiotics when you were a little kid, and you know, 1 5-day treatment of antibiotics will wipe out your bacteria. It will change your gut forever unless you start taking probiotics. That will change your gut. So leaky gut, candida, dysbiosis, stuff gets into the bloodstream that never belonged there, and it becomes systemic. And I believe every autoimmune disease, and I add autism to that, I believe autism is an autoimmune disease. But so is celiac, and so is Crohn's, and so is Graves, Hashimoto's, ulcerative colitis, scleroderma, MS, you name it. I have never seen a case of that when I was in practice that they didn't have leaky gut. Never saw one, ever. So leaky gut, leaky brain, okay? So all I'm saying is This study, okay, so one is an inquiry because of the study that was done that linked depression and suicide. On the positive side, they showed that a powerful antidepressant was fish oil, a powerful antidepressant, okay? Now, here's another study that came out this week connected to depression. Another study confirming my madness, confirming what I'm saying to you on a daily basis is truth. You know what it said? If you've got good levels of vitamin D in your blood, your risk of depression is decreased by over 50%. So that people that have good levels of vitamin D, look what I'm doing, out in the sun this morning. Oh, guys, morning sunshine. It's the best time of the day to take in your melatonin. Remember, melatonin is something your body makes already. It makes it from the sun. You remember what we talked about last week? Melatonin. You get it. You get it in the morning, right? Melatonin, and then you make melatonin. Your body makes it. Your body makes melatonin at night, okay? Your body makes melatonin at night. So when it's dark, really dark, black, so your body makes melatonin. So isn't it good? But you see, the more melatonin you have in your body, and not by supplement, look, I'm not against the supplement of melatonin, of course, but your body makes melatonin, okay? So all I'm saying to you is it's very, very, very important, okay? It's very important that you understand the connection between depression and obviously a lack of healthy fat, long chain fatty acids, especially the DHA in fish oil. And the other link is between the amount of vitamin D in your serum. Now, you remember again, in terms of repetition, do you remember what I was saying about you don't absorb vitamin D properly if you don't have a good gut? There you go. A leaky gut. You don't even absorb vitamin D properly. The conversion of vitamin D that you need. You get it on your skin from the sun, but it converts for what your brain needs. In the gut. That's why the gut's so important, guys. The gut's so important. So isn't this incredible that, stuff like vitamin D is so important, but your gut, your lining of your gut is so, so, so very important. What can I tell you? These are natural. These are what God gave us. In nature, guys, in nature. This is why, it's such an important thing to understand this. So we're looking at depression, and we're thankful. I'm thankful for the Australian government that they're going to have a look at this. And they're going to look at depression, and they're going to look at the link. If there's any link between, the studies say there's a link, but they're going to go into a real inquiry. And let's look at this. I'm all for that. I like that idea, that they would look. So, and I'll just give you a couple of other things, as I close this morning when I talk about depression. Here is my experience, okay? Just my experience, my clinical experience. You know, somebody said to me the other day, well, you're not a researcher. You're absolutely right. I'm like Tony Jr. says, well, you're the head of research at the Martin Clinic. Yeah, but I use live people, no mice. I'm not a researcher. I'm a clinician. Okay? And I want to tell you what I found over the years, okay, with depression. And I want to close on this. What have I found? What was lacking in depression? Well, we already talked about a couple of them. One of them, what I found consistently, is that people that had depression, clinical depression, not diagnosed by me, but diagnosed by a physician, they got clinical depression, they were on antidepressants, most of them. And when I saw them in the office, here's what I found. They were deficient. Well, first of all, they had leaky gut almost invariably. Okay? They had leaky gut, 1. 2, they were bad eaters. Almost every one of them were carboholics. They were big sugar eaters. And some of them argued with me. I can remember a couple of cases where they argued with me. I said, you're a bad eater. No, not me, doc. Look at what I have in the morning. I have my cereal and, you know, I said, by the time we finished going through the day with your orange juice and whatever, I said, you just had about 2 full cups of sugar in your day. About 30-something teaspoons of sugar in your day. What? I said, yeah, man. No wonder your brain ain't working. I could go into in what happens in sugar in your brain, but I won't do that, okay, for the sake of time today, okay? So here's what I found. They were low, obviously, on omega-3. They were low in vitamin D. They were carboholics, sugarholics, on average. There were a few exceptions to that, very few. They were low in vitamin B12. B12 is a brain vitamin, guys. And most people, I've told you this 1,000 times, are low in B12. It's a vitamin that they're usually very low in. And it's even worse today because people have bought the nonsense about lowering your levels of red meat, because red meat is so bad for you that people often, you know what, the consumption of red meat has gone down 30% in the last 30 or 40 years. It's down 30%. People don't eat it. And even when you eat it, if you have digestive issues, you're not absorbing B12, but you can only get B12. There's no B12 in the plant kingdom, guys. Don't fool yourself. Don't try and talk yourself into it. It ain't there. Okay, so don't fool yourself about that. Okay, so low in vitamin D, low in omega-3, low in B12, and bad eaters. And the last one is oftentimes they were low in magnesium. Magnesium is a very important mineral. A lot of people are very low in magnesium. You know how you get low in magnesium? When you're a sugarholic. You're a carboholic, you excrete, your kidneys throw out your magnesium and your potassium. These are important minerals. And another thing that we did, we bought the lie of low salt. Magnesium is a salt. It's a mineral, but it's a salt. You need it. And oftentimes this creates an imbalance in the brain. You need salt. Don't blame salt for what sugar did, for heaven's sakes. Okay? Okay. There you go. That's my rant for today. Okay? I love you guys. We'll talk to you soon. I'll let you know. I'm not sure if we're going to do a live tomorrow with Tony Jr. and I. He's the boss. And Brandy, they boss me around, so I got to find out what they want me to do. Maybe they don't even want me on the show anymore. I haven't heard. Okay? But no, we love you guys. Talk to you soon. Share this. The more people you share it with, the better impact this has, okay? So, give them the other side of the story. What they do with that is up to them. But at least give them the other side, because this is news behind the health news. I give you the background to these things. Okay, talk to you soon. Love you guys.